All right, Homesteader family, welcome back to the journey. Welcome to this edition of the Sunday Monday vlog. This is going to be a little bit of a different Sunday Monday vlog because hold on one second. I had a gnat flying right by the phone, so I'm looking at a gnat flying. But I wanted to go ahead and talk about something I had one of my subscribers talk about the other day and mention it to me. I've also had people mention it throughout my whole lifetime because of the way I am as a person, um, how I look, how I seem, the things I do, etc. So I'm going to go over my week and some of the things that's been going on, and then I'll get into that topic with the happiness, the fronts, the faces, and all that type of stuff that I'm talking about. So this week, it's been a good week. It's been a bad week. For those of you that saw the emu video earlier, as I was looking through those leaves in the pile of straw, I ended up finding 5 babies. Had 7 eggs left, and then just that one baby emu that was doing good with Humpty. Is walking around with Humpty. Hey DT, welcome back to you too. You made it this week. Last week you left me and then came later or something like that. So welcome back to you as well. But yeah, so it was a rough week in that aspect. I was so excited for those of you that saw the photo of the emus with the babies. There was only 2 at the time. And then we've had some little bit of chilly nights. And then later this upcoming week, we're going to get down into the mid to upper 20s again with possible snow. And it's just rough. It's always rough when you got babies around cold and you don't have the barns and everything else made. How animals do it in nature, I don't know, because sometimes they struggle, sometimes they do good. I mean, look at all the baby goats. Not much shelter, but most of them did well. Thought the baby emus were going to do good because they were all bundled up with the 2 emus, Henry and Humpty. I also put a bunch of hay down over there so they had good bedding, and that wasn't the case. So next year, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm either going to collect the eggs, which I don't really want to collect the eggs because none of my emus have ever sat on the baby or sat on the eggs to hatch out the eggs. And that's one of the hardest things to do when you have emus is get them to actually sit on the eggs and hatch them unless they're used to doing it. The ones that I had never sat on eggs. They just discarded the eggs. So to get them to sit on the nest this year and actually hatch out the babies is a big step. So I don't know if I want to take the eggs and put them in an incubator because then I don't have them to hatch. The incubator takes electricity, constant watching it, adding water to it so the humidity stays right, the temperature stays right, all that type of stuff. So I'm either going to do one of 2 things. I'm either A, going to let the emus hatch the eggs out again next year, or I'm going to take the eggs, put in an incubator. If I decide to go the hatch rate with the emus, then I'm going to have to buy 2 of those $400 10 by 10 dog pens, kennel pens, whatever you want to call it, and then buy trucker tarps and tarp the whole thing, the sides, the top, and then cut out the doorway. Take half and half. Well, DT, if I see the incubator I bought's the $1,200 or $1,400 one, so if I'm only putting a couple eggs in there, it's not worth it because of how much electricity it draws, the fan for the power, all that type of stuff. So it's either I'm going to do all the eggs, so it's worth the extra electric bill, water bill, all that stuff, or it's just easier to let the emu take over. But like I said, if the emu takes over and hatches out the babies again, and I build a totally enclosed shelter to stop the cold, the wind, stuff like that, or have the emu hatch out the babies, try to catch the babies at the right time, which will be difficult, just like baby goats. You never know when they're going to come unless you time everything out. And I don't have the animal sectioned off. Then I could always take the babies from the emus and make sure they're indoors. But I think my best bet, if I do go with the emus, is going to be buying 2 of those dog 10 by 10 chain link panel pens, set them up next to each other, put two in the one in the other, and keep them enclosed. Like you see people with peacocks, they have peacocks in the little kennel pens so the peacocks don't fly away, they don't get killed, everything else like that. I hate to reduce the animals into smaller areas, which that's my big thing. Nature is nature. By putting animals in pens and cages, for me, they lose that freedom. However, at the same time, you also have to contain your animals if need be, which branches me to another thing. So, my neighbor, James and Katrina, their family moved in to their property. They're, I guess, dividing the land out. They got different family moving in. And the one has a little daughter, and turned out one of my peacocks had been attacking the daughter, and I didn't know about it. And I guess Katrina finally came back around, and the daughter told Katrina about it. And Katrina's like, "What Johnny say?" And they said they didn't tell me yet. So Katrina reached out to me, and like I told Katrina's daughter as well, if there's any issue, and that's another video I need to put out there about communication. You should try communicating to your neighbors, not just letting things build up, and get worse and worse. So I went ahead, I got all the peacocks caught up. They got put back in that original pen that I had bought for Carla to have her peacocks in, and the goats had dug out by that little pond area and never fixed the wiring. And of course, everything got in and out that cage. So I went ahead, put all new wiring, weighted it down with cinder blocks, got the peacocks put away. So if any of you are having issues with neighbors, or neighbors doing something you don't like, don't go calling the cops. Don't go being a butthole and rude and everything like that because they're doing something you don't like. Try talking to them. Try explaining, hey, do you mind doing this? Do you mind doing that? Or, this is bothering me, or, this happened, just like with the peacock. If I would have known the very first time her daughter got attacked by a peacock, I could have solved that problem. There would have never been two more issues. So that's, communication. Everybody just needs to communicate. So that was another bird thing. Rest of the week was good. Like I said, baby emus hatched. That was good until today. So I still got to figure that out. I have until next year, because it won't be until January, end of December, January, that they start laying eggs again. So I have this whole year to go ahead and figure out what I want to do. I'll also see what I get done on the homestead, between the snowball stand and everything going on here. I might, like I said, be getting paid off from Colorado at end of the year. So if that happens, it all depends on how everything flows, on what I decide how everything goes. But that at least gives me some time to figure out. At least they're not going to lay eggs in 2 months and I got to go through the whole headache again. Been out clearing the woods. I got the one whole line going up to my side property line along Steve's property. He's been out doing his property, doing his work. The homesteading family's up there doing their work. Just everybody's getting busy. People bringing in loads of fencing, fruit trees, solar. We're all getting set up, getting things going. So it's good to see everybody moving along. Of course, with me, it's just clearing woods. I don't have solar going in. I don't have fruit trees going in. I don't have gardens going in. New animals coming in. So it's a little bit of a knockdown to me, because I've been here a couple years now and it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. I'm still here at the restaurant. Well, I wasn't here all this time just for this past year, but for a year, driving back and forth, and then living in Marshall, driving back and forth. So it's just a little bit hard to see everybody making more progress on their homestead when I'm not really making progress. And then today I called my hay lady up. I told her I'm ready for a couple more loads of hay so I can have hay stocked up again. I put hay in today. That's why my eyes a little bit watering, dealing with hay, moving hay. Bite your hands, you get the hay dust. And I think it's seasonal allergies from the hay getting in my eyes and stuff. But she said, which is funny, this is how this area is small talk and everything. She goes, I don't know if it's gossip, if it's a rumor, or if it's the truth. She goes, but I heard you're looking for possible dozer work on your homestead, put in driveways and stuff. And I said, yes, I do. I said, it's not a rumor. I said, I'm thinking about hiring out if I can. If I can't, I'll save up and rent the dozer for a month and do the work myself because I've ran dozers before. And it turns out her son and her grandson have a business. They have track hoes, they put in ponds, they do all this stuff. They do a bunch for like government projects as well. So she's gonna give my number to them so they can reach out, come out to the homestead, look at what I want done. She said she doesn't know if they're do small projects, which that's what I was kind of hoping for. Maybe do a couple small projects throughout the year so that way I can afford it because I don't have big money until Colorado's sold or the rental house is sold or I can get this place sold. And worst case, I might have to wait. But knowing that they have all these dozers, they have the semis to move equipment and backhoes, track hoes, all that type of stuff, and they do ponds and all that. We all know I want some massive ponds put in across the homestead. So I'm going to see it, if they get time to come out. I still haven't heard from the other dozer guy. I'll see about, what ponds are going to cost and all that type of stuff, because that is some of the things I want to do. Like I said, orchard, big ponds, all that type of stuff. So we might be getting some quotes coming up, and I'll be letting you guys know and all that. Earlier this week, before the weekend, I got my property taxes for out here. So I have 2 properties for the homestead. For those of you that don't know, the homestead's on 2 different deeds. It's 103.89 acres for the one, and the other is, I want to say 15 or 16.9 or something like that. So it comes out just shy of 120, but with the mountains going up and down, it's more than 120 for those of you that don't know. The acreage is determined by a flat plain. So if you have mountains and hills, you're actually gaining more land than just a flat plain like in Kansas, where, it's just perfectly flat 20 acres. So I got those 2 property deeds for taxes. I got the rental house out here for property taxes and the restaurant here for property taxes. And between the 4, it's like $750. So I've got to get out to Marshall later this week. I got to go get the property taxes paid on everything. So that's all taken care of, which with Steve coming out, my truck had issues again. I had to get a new mass airflow sensor went out in my truck. So this was a headache of earlier this week was my oil gauge came on in the truck because I haven't paid attention to my oil gauge. And in these new trucks, for those of you that don't have new trucks, or those of you that have new trucks, you would know this, it pops up when it hits 8%. So the dealership recommends oil change at 10%. You're not supposed to go below 8%. The sensor comes on at 8%, so that way that's, you got to get your oil change. It's got the computer system, so it can figure out the grid and all that stuff in your oil, how your engine's doing. It can increase the mileage. You can go past 3,000 miles if the oil's good, or it could be less than 3,000 miles if you go through a lot of sandy, gritty air and stuff like that and it gets in. So anyhow, went up to Walmart where I get my oil changes done because it's $30 cheaper than going to the dealership. It's just ridiculous paying over $100 at dealership when Walmart's $60. So went to Walmart, got the oil change. We drive a mile and a half down the road. I get in the left lane, which I never, ever do. For any of you in Arkansas that are watching in Harrison, I got in the left lane at Wendy's, the Wendy's intersection on 65. When that left lane, all the semis get into it, so everybody rushes around the right lane to get around the semi trucks to jump back over for the Tractor Supply Taco Bell light to go left on 65 out here to St. Joe. Never do I ever get in left lane, but I'm like, I'm not in a rush. We're just cruising, me and Steve, get in left lane, pull up to the light, nobody in front of me, and the truck goes, womp, 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 boom, shuts off. Start it up, goes, womp, 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 boom, shuts off. And the light turns green. And I'm like, great. I'm stuck in the middle of the intersection, in the middle of the highway. Traffic all the way back because it's Harrison midday on, I think it was either Monday or Tuesday. So you have all the traffic and everything. Luckily, here in Arkansas, people were nice. They let me get over. So I had to start the truck up, move a couple feet, start the truck up, move up a couple feet until I could get off the highway, got over into a parking lot. For those of you that know me, I know nothing about mechanics. I don't do mechanics. I don't want to learn mechanics. And Steve knows mechanics. So that's another good thing about networking, building these communities, like the Homesteading family. They're working on gardens and doing all their type stuff. So they're going to be bringing things to the area that we need. By Steve moving out here and being part of the little homestead community, he knows mechanics. He knows solar. He can do wind turbines, water wheels, all that type of stuff. He's a techie guy, computers, all that type of stuff. That's my weak fault. Like we were taught in the military, you lean on your partners for what you need. They got your six. If this person's good at this, they do this. This person good at this, they do that. So luckily, Steve knows mechanics. He hopped out. He started tinkering around underneath the hood, and he pulls off a cable and goes, try your truck. Truck starts up, runs perfect. He plugs in this wire. The truck goes womp, 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 shuts down again. So it's a simple little sensor that goes into your airflow, whatever, mass airflow sensor. I would have had no idea what was causing that. He knew exactly what it was. Couldn't get the part right away. It had to be shipped in. So the part finally came in. He put it in. The truck works perfect. The check engine light went back off. Truck's running fine. The part was like $79 or whatever. If I went to dealership, I would have paid that. Plus, if Steve wasn't here, I would have had to have a tow truck, tow it to the dealership, pay the tow fee and all that because I had no idea what I was looking at. And like you said, they probably charged me $50 to $75 just to take out the two screws, put the new sensor in, because that's what dealerships do. Let alone small mechanic shops charge a lot for that stuff as well. So it's nice having that. But it ran in three. So my neighbor Ted, the day before, his four-wheel drive went out in his truck. Then my mass airflow sensor went out. And then we get back to the homestead, and Steve moves his truck, and his brake lines go out. So this past week, Steve got to stay home a couple days because he didn't have to go for a couple of trips. But I went to town 7 days in a row. It was crazy, ridiculous having to go town that often. So it went for the oil change, came back. Then we had to go to town to order the parts because he had to diagnose his truck and my truck to make sure that's exactly what it was. He wanted to check all different things to make sure it was that sensor and nothing else. So we didn't have to go town again. So we went to town, ordered parts. They had to be shipped in, so we had to wait. Then we went back. Then Ted broke something on his little tractor that he bought. He bought one of those little small riding tractors. He broke something on his tractor, and he doesn't have a trailer, and it was under warranty for one more week, and they wouldn't come get it because it's too far away from dealership. So being neighbors, the barter and trade, I told him I'd take him. He wanted to fill my tank up, which I had just filled my tank up. So he put, I think it was $18 in my truck to fill up my gas. But since I got the trailer and I had my truck, I was able to take his tractor. And so he's getting his tractor fixed. I'm not sure how long that's going to take. I told him I could pick it up. But he's looking at buying a trailer or something so he doesn't have to inconvenience me, especially once the snowball stand's going or I'm working on my house or whatever. But it's just been a long, long week of back and forth to town. Then the property taxes come in. So once again, this month, March coming up, I'm not going to have my credit cards paid off again. So I'm getting closer to paying them off. I'm not going to be paying as much interest, but it is what it is. But I'm going to get them paid off this week, the taxes, and then I'll have most of my credit card. So my 54 interest last month should be down to around $35 this month, I'm hoping. So little by little, I'm chiseling away. For those of you that have been in debt, know it's just a steady grind, trying to get it done. And for those of you homesteading, know that you always got to spend money. It's fencing, it's tools, it's wear and tear on your vehicles, uh, vet bills. You never know what's going to come up. It's always something. It's always a steady grind. But that's pretty much been the week. We had a little bit rain. We've got the tornadoes possible coming in tonight. So any of you in Oklahoma, I hope everybody's safe. For those of you that saw the video about the tornado here that came, it was about 2.25 miles from the homestead. Right now, it's showing it's going to go north of the ridge above us. But for those of you that haven't heard of Ryan Hall, y'all, on YouTube, he's a weather guy. Really good. When he's pointing out things, it's like very accurate. I watch him over any other weather person just because he's been pretty much top notch on if it's going to hit, not going to hit. Right now, we're just below the yellow or in the yellow, something like that. And he says right now it's not going to come this way, but the storm's starting to move south when I stop to make this video. So I don't know if it's going to drop back down. So I'll be watching Ryan Hall, y'all, tonight, just so I can see what's going on. I slept through last tornado. Steve slept through last tornado, and he was a lot closer than me. I was 8.25 miles away from it. So we'll see if the storm comes this way or not. So if you're in Oklahoma or Missouri, Tennessee, Kentucky, because it's going to go up and around or whatever, hope everybody stays safe. Hope everything goes well. And then that leads me to the title of this video about the happiness, the faces, the fronts, depression, all that type of stuff. And that is, I've had different people throughout my life that say, I'm never serious. I'm always clowning around. I'm always joking. People say I'm always happy. I'm always bubbly. We've talked about back, you can go back, watch my suicide video. I went through a very hard time in 2009. And I've also been watching different people on Facebook talking about depression, talking about sadness, talking about life can't get any worse. And that got me thinking as well about how I always talk about when I lost everything in 2011, became homeless, and I was in that hobo tent. I always talk about that's my rock bottom point in life, that, you know, I've been building myself back up since I lost everything and trying to get my life back on track, trying to get back financially where, you know, I'm not struggling every month, not trying to pay bills all the time, interest and things like that. And I've had the comments that, you know, you're always happy. How do you not stress about things? How do you not get depressed about things? How does it not grind you down where you just give up again or quit or get in that mindset? And a person I knew back in Canyon City, Colorado, put a thing up on Facebook. I want to say maybe a month ago, a few weeks ago, something like that. It's hard to keep track of time when you're constantly homesteading and making videos. You're not sure timelines. But he was talking about he had part of his foot amputated. And he's like, oh, life can't get any worse because now they're going to take another part of my leg off. And I sent him a message. I said, you know, you got to stay positive. I said, things can be worse. I said, you're not looking at the full picture. I said, you're saying it can't get worse because you're losing another part of your leg. Now, yes, that is bad. You know, that's difficult. I couldn't imagine losing any part of my body because I haven't experienced that yet. But like I told him, I said, think about those people that are stuck in a wheelchair that have no legs whatsoever. Think of those people that something happened to their spine or vertebrae and they're paralyzed from the neck down. Drug addicts, you know, things can always be worse. And that's what we need to think about. When you get down, when you get depressed, when you think that life can't get any worse, it can always be worse. Um, even down to the fact of death. I mean, death is going to be the worst. And when that happens, a lot of people, including me, when I did what I did back in 2009, I thought death was the answer. Oh, don't have to have any more feelings. I don't have to worry about debt. I don't have to worry about my finances. I don't have to worry about somebody else hurting me. I don't have to worry about struggling. I don't have to go on smiling and trying to put on the front. And I kind of talked about this a little bit with Steve earlier, and about we were we were in Colton's, and we were talking about something, and it got onto the subject that he doesn't understand why I do what I do or whatever. And I said, well, a lot of people say it's because I'm Aquarius, because he says I do a lot for more people than he would ever do. Like, just like with Ted, with his tractor going down, he talked about it while he was giving us a tour. And I just volunteered it. Um, he didn't ask. He knows I have the trailers. The trailers sit right there on Gregory Lane, so he can see that I have trailers when he drives by. But he didn't ask for help, and I just volunteered. I said, hey, Ted, why don't I take your tractor in for you so you don't lose the warranty and stuff like that? And I've done several things since Steve's been here helping random people. And, he's made a couple comments now on how I wouldn't do that. And he doesn't know why I extend myself as far as I do. And that's probably one of the reasons why I do get taken advantage of, is because I do these things. And like I told him, I said, I've had people say that's because I'm an Aquarius, and Aquarius people feel that way. And then he's like, I don't believe in the astrology signs and things like that, which I don't either. But I do agree in what I do. And that is, I came from a family that was very serious. They weren't strict. And at lunch today at Colton's, because we've been working hard in the woods trying to get things done. And I figure if I put all my effort and strain and everything on me, and put in that time, then I deserve at least one meal a week that's not frozen dinners in my microwave, since I don't have kitchen to cook. So he's like, I really don't want to go to Harrison or spend more money today. But in my mind, if I don't have at least one good meal, at Colton's, I get the bread, I have Caesar salad, I have green beans, and then I get the steak and shrimp. So I'm getting a big full meal, and that helps replenish my body, helps replenish the energy. And we're there and we're talking, and we got into the whole happiness thing. And he was talking about, he was raised a different way than I was raised. And with my family, it was not strict, it was serious. So there wasn't a lot of joking, a lot of kidding. It was more drama, more serious topics, more um, struggling, seeing your parents struggle with finances, having arguments, and not just arguments. I mean, verbal abuse fights, the cussing, the name calling. I would sneak to the top of the steps and just look down. Half the time, I thought my parents were killing each other. And I mean, I'm not going to say it here on the video, but just, I mean, it's burned in my mind the different phrases and sentences my parents would say to each other that were like, I can't believe they said that type of stuff over and over for all them years, and just the negativity. And my thought is, and like I told one of my followers that we talked about after the last Sunday Monday vlog, is look at Robin Williams. The reason I try to be like Robin Williams is the same thing like Robin Williams did, was You try to bring as much joy and happiness to as many people as you can. Because when you're in that deep depression, or you go through living in a family that's negative, drama, fighting, name calling, all that stuff all the time, you know how bad it hurts you, and you want to try to alleviate that for everybody else. And the problem is, when you do that for so long, it like rips the living part of you out, your soul, the living part, the feeling, the emotions out of you. And that's when you can go into a deep depression, like I did in 2009. And then, like Robin Williams did, you end up, committing suicide or whatever, because there's nobody to reach out to. And yes, I know a lot of people will say, well, you got family, you got friends, and all that stuff. But until you've been to that point of suicide, or have attempted it like I did, and luckily was unsuccessful, and I'm still here to be able to talk to people. The biggest thing people don't understand, if you've never been to that position, is reaching out to somebody is not an option in our minds. The reason it's not an option in our minds and the way we think in that certain circumstance is what we came from, what we've dealt with. We don't want to put out negativity, drama, bad feelings, and all that, talking about where we are, because that's going to burden somebody down. That's not going to bring somebody to a smile. That's not going to keep somebody happy. So that's why a lot of people that are in that situation, no family knows, no friends know, acquaintances, anybody in their circle ever suspects that it's going to happen, because we don't want to put that negativity, we don't want to put those bad feelings into that person. We want to see that person smile all the way up till the day we're not here. And everybody talks, I'm always happy, I'm always bubbly. You're going to see that. It's hard for me to show my raw feelings, because whether it's I'm Aquarius, whether it's because I'm an alien, or whether it's just me, I don't want to show those feelings, because if I'm showing you I'm depressed all the time, if I show you I'm angry all the time, if I show you negativity, 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 then who wants to watch that? And if you want to watch that, then your attitude, your perspective of life is going to start to downgrade. And that goes to, like the rich people say, if you want to become rich, all 10 of your friends need to be rich or richer than you, because then you strive to get to that level. If you hang out with 10 druggies, you're going to degrade down to that level. So you always want to be higher. So by me always showing higher happiness, excitement, things like that. Now, like I said, this channel's not going to be rainbows and unicorns where I'm just prancing around, everything's happy dory and everything like that, because I'm not trying to get the views. I'm going to show you exactly how my life is, whether it's good or bad. However, like I said, I don't show everything on YouTube. When a million things go bad on the homestead, when I lose animals and then my truck dies and all that stuff, I'm not filming those days, because I'm cussing those days. I'm pissed off those days. Depressed those days. I don't want to show that. So I will talk about things. Like I said, my suicide video, I put that out public. Me leaving Colorado, that final video, that took me all those years, 2 years or so, until I just released that video that I'm throwing in the towel, because I wasn't ready for that raw emotion, let alone see me crying on camera, to be out to the public, because I just don't like showing that. And you got to think about that. So for those of you that see people smiling, happy dory all the time, they may be worse off than you, and you may never know that. So I recommend everybody, if you're having a bad day, which I know it's hard when I have a bad day, or somebody cuts me off, or bad service at restaurant, it's hard to be positive. I try, I am flawed at it. I can cuss people out. I can cut somebody back off on the road. But there's also some days that I can muster up to just let it go and try to be nicer, because you never know what you do back to that person could be that straw that they're no longer here. You could say the wrong thing and that person's no longer here. You could do the wrong thing and that person could no longer be here. Or, like I try to do, like Robin Williams, is I try to smile, I try to help people, because you never know. Not saying my neighbor's suicidal or anything, but say it's, with his tractor being broke, for example, who knows? He could be in financial debt. He could be going into depression. You never know. And that tractor not being able to have the company come get his tractor, not having a trailer to take the tractor, that could, like I said, not in my mind. This is just example. So don't hold me. This is how he's feeling. But I'm saying, as an example, by me helping him get that tractor there, that alleviated stress, that alleviated financial burden and everything like that, that could save somebody's life. Same thing with, when I'm driving down the road, I see uh, a lady or some kids or whatever with a flat tire, and you see them looking around and everything because they don't have a jack, they don't have the tire iron, they have no idea how to change a tire. I pull over and I help people. And that's where Steve says, I do way more than he would ever do. But that's also the thing of going back to crabs in a bucket. For whatever reason, the human race doesn't want to help. And I don't understand that aspect of it, because for those of you that don't know about crabs in a bucket, look it up. If you put a bunch of crabs in a bucket, the crabs will climb on top of each other and one will get to the top. And just as that one gets to the top and the others could crawl up over it to get out, they pull the crab back down. And that, as a human species, we're almost identical to the crab, because after birth, that's all we do. We just pull people down. And the easiest way to say it for you to realize exactly what I'm talking about is look at babies. Look at the very first couple years of childhood. Your very first born, all the way up to the first couple years, is when we encourage. We say, come on, take that walk. Come on, crawl. Say daddy one more time. Say mommy one more time. We encourage over and over and over those first several years. After that, when we get into teenager years, you're not going to be good enough for this college. You need to apply for this college. Your grades aren't going to be good enough for this. We start that negativity. We start that self-doubt. We start putting that in, that you're not going to be good enough to go to that college. The older you get, the more drama-ish, the more negativity, the more crab-like we become, pulling you down. Then you get into, your upper teenage to your 20s. All right, DT, you have a great night too. I appreciate you joining in. I'm not going to be much longer, so you only have probably like 10 minutes or so to catch up on tomorrow. But have a good night. Have a great day at work. Great week. But as we get older, we get more crabby in a way. We just start pulling down, because like I started saying, the late teens, early 20s, what do a lot of us want to do? We want to try to start our own business. Even all the way up into our 50s and 60s and 70s, people want to start their own business. I appreciate it, DT. And you go to start your own small business, and what happens? Very few people around actually support that small business. Or they say, or your parents say, and friends say, oh, that's a stupid idea. That's not going to work. Or that's a bad business investment. Or that's not going to work out for you. You should do this. You should do that. And that doesn't help. And that is part of why people become reclusive. That's why people tend to not reach higher success. Where if you look at millionaires and stuff like that, the rich, they want to lift themselves up. They want to bring everybody around them up. And it's just a small percentage. And that's why that small percentage stays up there, because that positivity that they want you to climb never comes all the way down to the bottom of the bucket. It's the people down that want to keep ripping down. And there's another example, look at, okay, like the poor. They see somebody with all this money and they say, oh, they have all this money. That's not fair. We should distribute the money, however they want to distribute. I don't get into the politics and all that type of stuff. But you got to look at, unless, it's money, wealthy families that just keep it in. But look at some of, like, you watch Shark Tank and you see some of these families that go on there that they only have $10,000 or $20,000 in sales before they go on Shark Tank. Then you see, if you've been watching Shark Tank for since beginning like me, 5, 6, 10 years later, they're showing that those families are now worth millions of dollars. Well, they're so rich now. Do we take away from them? I mean, they struggled, from the very beginning to get somewhere. And now that, yes, they're so much better than you. And then you're like, well, why don't they distribute their money to help people below them? It's that constant crab in a pot. You want a bucket. You just want to keep pulling people down because you want to pull yourself up. And the whole problem is it's not the people getting the money, it's the money. And that's what we've lost connection with and that's another big thing with the positivity, the happiness, the depression. If money went away, a lot of happiness would be achieved, a lot of depression would disappear. And that goes to one of my favorite sayings. I've said it for years. I've said it off and on YouTube. I've said it a lot on Facebook. And that is, since when do you have to pay to live on a planet created for free? And it holds true. I mean, to buy land, who has the right to say that? Yes, you may be a landowner right now, but why wasn't it free in the beginning? And who had the right to even say they had the right to sell it, or so on and so forth? Why is anything monetized? And that's what it is. With money starts the greed, which starts the super rich to the poor, and the cycle continues. Without that greed, without that need of money, the crab in the bucket wouldn't be there, because we would be out like cavemen, where you went out, you got your own dinner, you had fights and stuff like that, you fought for territory, but it wasn't monetized. Slowly but surely, the greed, this clan got stronger than the other clan. And then you had the happy clan like me that just smiled all the time, goofed around all the time, laughed all the time, and just try to make the world a better place. And that's all I'm saying. In the short of the long is, try to be nicer to people. You never know when your words, whether they're negative, could be the straw that breaks the camel's back in that person's world. That could be the ending of it. Or your positive words, your positive thing of stopping, helping somebody change a spare tire, things like that, that could just take all that negativity away, change their life. I mean, immediately. You never know. Just taking off that little bit of stress, that little bit of financial burden, just could change the world for somebody. So I truly hope we can get past the crab in a bucket, which I know it's probably never going to happen because it's been going on for so long. But every person that can smile, every person that can put a little more positivity in the world, puts a little bit more light in the darkness and evaporates a little bit more depression, negativity, stress, and plain out rudeness that some people portray on a daily basis. So I hope everybody had a great week. Like I said, this week was some good things, some bad things, but that's life. It happens all the time. I hope this upcoming week is good for you. You may have some negative times, you may have some positive times. Remember, it's like a roller coaster. You have your ups, you have your downs, but when you're down, you can go back up. When you're up, remember, you're not always going to be up. You're going to come back down. So don't get a high head when you're up high. Realize that you got the possibility of going right back down. With that, thank you guys again for being part of the journey. Thank you for sharing the thumbs up, being part of the journey, the messages, the emails, the phone calls, the interactions, and I really appreciate it. So with that, have a great week, and remember, live happy, live free. That's the only way to be. I'll see you guys on the next video.